Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Adobe Live. I am your host, Chris Blackstock, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our new Adobe Live channel on YouTube to stay up to date on the latest streams, participate in the Adobe Live community, and so much more. And don't miss out on our Adobe Express streams right before this stream. Tune in and learn how to implement the easy-to-use app into your workflow with Annika Agarwal. And actually, Annika is our moderator today, too. So here we are. We're on day 2 with Katty Huertas, really talented, wonderful editorial illustrator, painter. Really excited to have you back today. How are you doing, Katty?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me again. And thanks to everyone who's joining also for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. And a quick shout out to the chat. Hi, everybody. As always, thank you so much for joining us. We always love all your questions and everything else. And also, don't forget, we're doing the Artist Spotlight today. It's day 2, so we're doing the Artist Spotlight. If you look at the chat, the top right corner, you'll see a tab. Fill out the form, nominate yourself, someone you know, and who knows, you could be on the Artist Spotlight next time we do it. So about an hour and a half in, we'll do an Artist Spotlight. It's super fun, super cool. We get to highlight one of our artists here on Behance. So, or maybe just people that we know. All right. Katty, day 2, we're working on an illustration. Please take us through what you did day 1. Oh, first, show us a little bit of your work, if in case no one tuned in yesterday. Show us some of your work. And then after that, let's hop into what we did day 1 and what we're going to do for day 2.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Katty. I currently live in DC, but I'm originally from Colombia. And I do a lot of illustration. While I've worked with some commercial clients like Disney Plus and Society 6, I also do editorial. And editorial is kind of like what my background is in. So a lot of these are just done for publications based on news or stories. Yeah, so we're working on an editorial illustration today. But first, if you want to see a little bit more of my progress, because my website is not always kept up to date, you can also like see my Instagram where I put like more time lapses and things like that. But I'm gonna jump on what we were doing today and show you a little bit of where we at. So yesterday we started with a sketch. I work on a rejected sketch for one of the editorial illustrations that I work on. And so this one was about kind of like the change of season, like going from summer to fall and then winter. And it was kind of like a bit more open-ended, and the art director went with a different sketch, but I kind of always liked this one. So I decided this was the perfect opportunity to finish it up. And so we started with the sketch, and this is where we left it up yesterday. We blocked all the colors, made a color palette to start picking from it, and then started to kind of like render some of the shapes. And this is where we're gonna start. I mean, since a lot of the shading is kind of like repetitive, I did a little bit ahead, but then I'm gonna walk again through everything that I was doing. And hopefully if we have some extra time, once we move on to Photoshop, we might do some light animation, maybe like blinking in the eyes or something like that, just to bring it to life a little bit more.
Awesome.
So just to recap, I'm using here my favorite brushes, which some of them come with Fresco already, like the soft acrylic one, which I think some people really liked from yesterday. It's just like kind of like soft and mimics that texture. And then the canvas brush, which is this one that gives that kind of like texturally, almost as if it was painted in real canvas. And so right now I'm using clipping masks to contain all the shading into the places that I want them. Clipping mask and the lasso tool over here, just to make sure I'm not going outside the shapes.
Robert Wennerberg says, "Can you name layers in Fresco now, Katty?"
I did not try. I mean, like I went and I couldn't find it. So if anyone knows where to do that,
So
it's not like I'm
Robert
gonna do it.
yeah, he was saying it was the second icon down on the right-hand side. So I think those little sliders.
This
I
one?
think that's where he was saying it.
Oh, okay, I see
And
it.
that's where you name it. Yeah. It's
Okay,
been solved.
it's solved. I mean, it was right there.
Yeah.
Okay. This I'm gonna name because I made a little group, and this is the
Perfect.
face. So when I move on to Photoshop, it's gonna be easier for sure just to do that.
I think Robert is now satisfied. I think
Yeah, I mean, it's my bad. Like I wouldn't. I've seen that, but I was like, maybe that's how it's named because it was like a pixel layer, and they're all like pixel layers. So
yeah, totally. It makes sense, right?
Thank you for that. I think that's a cool trick to know.
The chat is celebrating.
Oh my God. Um, yeah, it's a reason to celebrate for sure. Although I'm still not gonna name them all. I feel like that takes
Yeah,
too
yeah,
long.
yeah. You got it's the rebel in you.
I mean, I know you said you name your layers, but do you name all of them or just like
It
the
de-
important ones?
yeah, it just kind of depends. There's, it's like sometimes I have those layers where I want to try something or just add extra details on top, or it's like a replacement layer. So, right, there's usually like the really like the layers that are like the key layers that I need to know, or that I'm building my clipping masks off of. Like a lot of the times I don't layer my clipping masks, but I'll label the layer that they're all being attached to. So, yeah, it just depends. I think with clients, if like I'm going to deliver it as a Photoshop file, or they need to have some type of editing capabilities, I make sure I'm pretty good with my labeling.
Oh yeah, in that case I do that too. Like if I'm handing off for animation, then for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But
Yeah,
like I feel
yeah,
like drawing for animation is so different. Like you have to draw the entire thing, not just what you see.
exactly. You have to
But
imagine that each of those layers could be separated and moved. And
yeah. Also, what I'm doing here for color picking, in case people in the chat don't know, is that if you press and hold, you can grab the color. I mean, you can also do it here with the eyedrop tool, but I feel like this is way faster. So
mm-hmm.
that's what I've been doing, just holding and pressing, grabbing the color, and then keep painting.
Are you holding it with your pencil or with your finger?
With my finger.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna move that color palette. It's too far.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is I know there are touchscreen tablets. I know the Cintiq I could have gotten a touchscreen, but I'd kind of heard that some of it wasn't as great as it could have been, and I'm not used to doing touchscreen on my desktop tablet, so I kind of went against it. But it is nice with the iPad, kind of having those quick touch it gestures, like like you said, like the eyedropper or the undo, even the redo, the 2-finger, 3-finger, stuff like that kind of speeds up the process.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you can do all of this like also the long way, but I think the shortcuts, especially when you have like super quick deadlines, they're great.
What's the quickest deadline that you've ever had?
I think I did one illustration for the New Yorker, and I think that one was like I got the email on Wednesday. I think it was to deliver the sketches on Thursday and then the final on Friday or something like that, like very fast.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, I really like them, so I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pull through.
Yeah, of course.
And it's very stressful. Luckily, not all of them are like that. Sometimes you get a week, still like quick, but
yeah, a week's not too bad. Kind of have time to process a little bit, kind of come back to it.
Yeah, that's one thing that when they're so fast like that, like you're too much into it, and then you look at it again after a while, and you're like, whoa, wow. I feel like time gives you perspective, so I feel like that's why I like with this one that I'm doing it in 2 days. So today I'm already seeing things that I wasn't seeing before. Same with the sketch. Like for those of you who are not here yesterday, I changed the sketch, like the face, just because I did that sketch so long ago that I feel like it wasn't looking right. But I guess like in the moment it looked okay to me. So having time in between is great.
Yeah, there's I used to do a lot of poster illustration and album covers and live visuals for a lot of electronic producers, and sometimes I'd get a email or a call from a manager and be like, we need art tomorrow, and it's 3 p.m. I was like, okay. Like I don't know how good it's gonna be, but I'll try my best.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like editorial is so fast that makes you really fast, but also, I mean, that can sometimes not be ideal. It's different
Hmm.
with commercial projects where there's like so many people involved. Those could take like months, which is like
Right.
depending on what you want, because like at the same time you get more notes, like more feedback,
Oh
more
yeah.
people involved.
Yeah. Which this can always be a bit of a headache,
Yeah.
but I think as long as you go in knowing that and kind of check your ego at the door, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
for
all right, I
sure.
already know there's going to be too many cooks in the kitchen, and you're probably going to run into the thing of like, could you do this or that? And then like, you know what? We don't like that. Make it go back to the, it's like, I run into that a lot where, especially if you're working with people that aren't visual or, aren't artists, they can kind of just be like, well, we don't really know what we want, and until we don't know it until we see it, and so we're just going to ask you to do all these things, and then we'll let you know if we don't like it.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, that happens with feedback that you know it's gonna look bad, but sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna do it so you can see it,
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah,
but
sometimes
it's
I kind of
not.
go in where I'm gonna make this so you like it. Like I'm gonna make something that I know you're gonna like, or take it to a little bit more polished place to kind of really drive home, how this is gonna look. Or
Yeah, the best thing is working with clients that really understand like what your aesthetic is and like trust you in the process.
right, because you would hope that they're hiring you for that reason, right? Like it's like, well, you've seen what I've done in the past, you've seen my work, so you should just kind of have the belief that I'm gonna make good decisions for you and what's best for the project.
For sure.
So what brush are you using on the scarf?
I think I'm using the soft acrylic one
It is still
too.
the soft acrylic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
is really
using like
nice.
3 brushes for this whole thing.
Right, the
Sometimes less
soft
is
acrylic.
more. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
the
using,
canvas brush.
yeah, the canvas, which is this one that gives like nice textures, but I feel like it's
Hmm.
harder to control. So I'm just using it once, kind of like the shape is done. Then I'll use it to add more highlights and things like that. And then I'm using an inking brush just for like finely, like rim
Okay,
light
so that's what
stuff.
those seams and the rim lights. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, as I was saying before, yesterday, I really like adding tiny, tiny, tiny details. So
Hmm. And I'm assuming, is the background going to stay relatively flat? I mean, you've got a little bit of texture back there, I think, right?
yeah, I
I think
added
you
a little
added a
bit
little
of
bit.
texture. Yeah, but I'm gonna
Hmm.
keep it flat. And one thing that I'm still thinking about that maybe you guys can help me decide is that this, I imagine it, envision it like being like this orientation, but I'm thinking if I post it, I may post it this way just because it takes more real estate on the screen.
Right.
But that's gonna change the shadows. So I'm thinking, should I add shadows or not? I was planning before to add shadows here at the bottom as if it was like placed in there, but if
Right.
so, I'm not sure if I should not add them or
I
what.
kind of like that orientation better. The
This one?
vertical.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I kind of like the vertical. I maybe because I'm also imagine it in a publication or something where that would possibly be the format. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely works both ways.
Yeah. Okay. Um, do people in the chat have any suggestions? Because if that's the case, I'm thinking I might just um, change this so they're moving down as if gravity was at the bottom.
Annika likes the vertical as well.
Nice. That's really cool. And I feel like that's something that I miss about art school and stuff, like having that type of feedback constantly of people like helping you out decide.
Oh, completely. Yeah, as you said you are an art director at Washington Post, correct?
Yeah. That's like my full-time job, and I really like it. I get to commission artists and work with different illustrators that have like very different styles to mine.
Mm-hmm. So who else do you work with as far as getting feedback, or do you have are you working? I'm not sure how it works with at Washington Post as far as like who are you directing there? Just the designers, the graphic designers, the layout.
No, so for art directing, it's more like, yeah, commissioning art, but then I do
Okay.
have a design editor, and she, like, if I do, sometimes I do illustrations in house as well, and so she gives me feedback, and she can also like give feedback on the stuff that I commission. And I also
Mm-hmm.
have like my peers and stuff, which I can show stuff, but that's
Mm-hmm.
more like obviously like work related. But then if it's
Right.
personal work or freelance, then it's harder to get that type of feedback that you used to get in like art school, when they're like showing you, like, that's basically the class, like giving you feedback on your
Yeah,
stuff.
really like really critical feedback,
Yeah,
It's like it's like why don't you like this, right? Or
yeah.
wait, what could make this better? Like don't tell me what you like, tell me what needs help.
Okay, I think this is a good solution because it works both ways. It could work like
Okay.
this, like if it was wind, but also like
Yeah,
this. So I'm
totally.
gonna do the same for
I mean,
for
design
here.
wise it works. So, it's I think it's kind of one of those things too where you can kind of get away with it.
I'm gonna have to edit the shadows behind it.
We just made a lot more work for you.
No, 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 I like it. This is the feedback that I like, I'm telling you. If it looks better, I think also looks a little bit more dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And it feels, I don't know, there's something like, and I don't know, but it kind of feels like the space is a little more like crunched, like the bundling is just almost overpowering, or it's just kind of like just trapped in the box a little bit more.
Yeah,
Where when you have it horizontal, it feels almost more like relaxing. Like there's a more casualness, but this it kind of feels like it's like, oh.
yeah, for sure. And that's kind of like the same feeling that I get, at least when I'm wearing kind of like all this many clothes when it's winter. So
Yeah,
I guess it
yeah,
ties, yeah,
yeah. It
ties
kind of
in with the
feels like
concept.
it's those clothes are feeling bigger and bigger, kind of as you go vertical. Yeah, this is great because this is basically like you're doing a tight deadline by the
Yeah,
end of it. This is perfect.
for sure. Yeah, I guess it's like 4 hours. I mean, the good thing here is that we already started with a sketch, because that
Hmm.
sometimes is what takes the longest, like coming up with an idea.
Right, doing the brainstorming, if you need to gather reference, trying out several ideas, really trying to nail the feeling. It can always, so that could sometimes happen real quick, or yeah, it could take a while. I feel like sometimes when my sketches, when I get it right early on, I'm like, like I'm almost like, that was a little too easy. I gotta maybe explore a little bit longer.
Yeah, sometimes the first idea is not the best.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is though. Like, so it
Yeah,
depends.
that's what I mean. It's like sometimes when it is the best, it's like I'm almost doubting it. I'm like, shouldn't I have to make a bunch more sketches before I get here?
If we have time, I can also show you the one that they end up going for this particular
Oh yeah.
story.
Is that on your website or?
Yeah, it's for this was for a section of the Washington Post before I worked with them, like when I was freelancing, like with an art director, and the it's called Art with a Point, and so they just it's kind of like a bit more loose than an article. They just tell you like a theme or a topic, and then you have to make stuff based on it. And
Mm-hmm.
so the theme was, yeah, like I think the change of like seasons and that kind of stuff, and they ended up going with one that I like, but I think this one, the one that was the final, is a bit more like, in a way, maybe more expected. It gets the idea across for sure, I think, more than this one, but I think visually this
Is it the
composition
one
was...
where she's pushing a curtain?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, I found it. Okay.
That was
I
so
really like
fast.
Yeah, I really like that one though. But
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying. It is a little more obvious, but it does. I mean, if for a quick read, I mean, reads really well, really quickly. So
Yeah, and that's so important when you're working with stories and trying to get a point across. Like that's, I
yes,
think, the
exactly.
difference. Yeah, the difference between like illustration and fine art, at least for me, is like with illustration you're trying to illustrate a point, kind of like
Right, you're
fine
trying
art
to
is, yeah.
translate a text or a story, or yeah, it's got to have some kind of narrative to it. Where yeah, fine art, there's a pretty big range, you know, just from completely abstract to the scale that you can create it at. But yeah, illustration I think is it needs to be quickly accessible almost.
Yeah. And so, but I'm glad you were able to find that out so quick. Like,
Well, I looked under the Washington Post ones,
yeah,
and then it's funny because I was thinking it could have been the other one with the suitcase, which maybe that is part of it, but
that was for spring travel. That was a different topic, but yeah.
It's a similar thing, or like, you know, lifting this veil, or
yeah. Those earmuffs are a lot. I'm trying to see if I should make it a little smaller. Maybe the one that's behind her head.
little perspective in there.
Oh, and what I'm doing here is that I was painting with that painterly brush, and then if you hold this little button, this one right here at the bottom corner, then you can erase with the same brush that you're painting.
Right.
So instead of having to switch back to the eraser tool, which I think is also like a cool tip.
Right, and you got to maintain the texture of the brush, which is nice.
Yeah. And if you forget to press it, then that's how, when you accidentally start painting, which happened to me a little bit ago. Like,
right.
well, we are on a tight deadline, so I'm not going to spend so much more on this little earmuffs.
Yeah, keep it moving.
Just maybe a little bit more highlights, and that's it.
You do whatever you need to do, okay? Don't worry about the deadline. You know, if you can't finish it today, it'll give everybody a great excuse to check out your Instagram later when you post it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm for sure posting it. I'll post it like this.
Yes. And then you have to post photo reference of you doing it in a box.
Yeah. Oh wow. I think for this one, I don't think I did because the body's so weird, but I do have like many of those photo references.
Yes.
I think if we drew the skeleton of this person, it would be very weird.
Yes. Very strange. It's just like maybe it's just a stick woman, and it's just all just fluff.
Yeah, maybe I can do it quickly. I know we're on a deadline, but I want to see it.
These are the things you think about.
Oh, that was the sketch layer. Let's see. If the skeleton is like this. Yeah, very long arms.
Very long.
So it would be like a very tall person, but you don't notice because, yeah. I'll keep that.
Maybe,
hidden.
yeah, maybe they're wearing all those clothes to prevent any type of bone breakage.
That's a story. Yeah, it could be like a children's story, like a sad one.
That's true. Sean is saying that maybe she just has a small head.
Maybe.
Normal sized body and just a tiny little baby head.
Okay, if I ever had time, I can do this one again without the jacket and then without the sweater, just to see how it would look like on regular clothes.
Just like a figure study.
Yeah. It could be like a nice animation to like to start adding clothes, like a
That
stop
would be so
motion thing.
cool. Yes. So I was at the store and I found it was this material. It was wrapped around some pears, and that was kind of to keep them from getting bruised. And remember I was talking about that foam, that kind of stretchy wrap around the fruit. It's like, oh, there it is.
That will prevent the bone breakage.
Yes, that's for that very fragile skull. Oh, Sean was saying you can do the same pose for the 4 seasons. So this is your winter.
Oh, that could be really nice.
Spring, summer, and fall. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, Reverb Mike says, or her clothes could be inflated like a helium balloon. Maybe that's why she's kind of like holding on, because if she doesn't, she's going to float away.
I am loving all of this. I feel like a lot of these like stories could be made into like children's book or like pictures books. So if I ever make one, I'll give you all credit.
Yeah, we should do another Adobe Live, and it'll just be brainstorming for children's books. Well, I can't believe it. We are almost 30 minutes in.
It's been already 30 minutes. Oh my God.
I know. It's crazy. I feel like for whatever reason, I feel like this stream yesterday and today have gone extremely fast. Maybe because we're having fun. But so if you're just joining us, we are here with editorial illustrator and painter Katty Huertas, also the art director at Washington Post, but she's worked with a lot of great clients. Disney Plus, Washington Post. Who are some of the other clients here? Got some really cool ones. With a New Yorker. So you can see her work all around. This is day 2 of an editorial illustration. And I believe it was the kind of transitioning of seasons, right? From, was it fall into winter? Or what was the summer into fall?
I think it was fall into winter, now that I remember.
Fall into winter?
But I'm doing that now because summer is coming to an end and I'm really sad about it.
Yes, I am less sad being in Los Angeles. It's been 105 or more for the last week, so I'm so ready for the cooler temperatures.
Yeah,
but,
I've been
I
reading
also
about
don't
it.
get snow, so it's, yeah, winter's not very scary in Los Angeles.
I think when I was living in Miami before, we didn't have winter, and so when I was knitting,
Right.
I was like, oh, I wish we had winter. Snow is so pretty. And then when I moved here, I'm like, oh no, what was I wishing for?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, it's okay. Yeah, no, it is fun. I mean, I love seasons. I do love the snow. But right, do I want to do 6 months of snow like it is in some places? Probably not. My brother lives in Alaska, and I think the average temperature during summertime is about 60 degrees. So it's a little cold over there.
Oh yeah, that. Where are you guys originally from? California?
Yeah, we all grew up in Southern California, in the foothills of LA County, near Pasadena. And yeah, he moved out there a couple years ago. His wife is from Homer, Alaska. So yeah, he's just living out there, got a great spot, and just it's kind of mountain coastal life. Pretty cool. You know, you got moose in your backyard and brown bears everywhere and stoats and lynx and all kinds of animals. So pretty cool.
Does he like it or does he miss California?
Oh no, he loves it. He does not miss California at all. He lived in Oregon for a long time before that. So no, he was excited to get out of California a while ago. Yes, Sean says Old Pasadena. Yes, I used to have a studio in Old Pasadena, Old Town. I went to school in Pasadena, so fun place.
I'm wondering if I should mask this or not, but I'm think I'm gonna just erase it. I want some of
Just
them
those
to go
edges.
over. Yeah, and I want of them
Right.
some to go over and some under, so I'm just gonna kind of like erase some of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. So yeah, like an overlap, a knitted overlap. It's not going to look like my cool fruit crate anymore.
Next time.
Yeah. Maybe that, yeah, maybe you could somehow find a way for an editorial illustration. I'm not sure how you would do that. Some type of safety thing, maybe. Maybe there's a pair that doesn't have it, and there's a pair that does. Maybe it's about wearing helmets or something. I don't know.
I like that. I like how you're thinking.
Yes. Yeah, Reverb Mike says, that's definitely a wow hat. I agree. I don't think you're showing up anywhere and not being noticed.
It's a statement piece.
Yeah, that's where small animals live. You can just keep them homed there. Maybe that's where they hibernate during the winter. That would be a great little children's story.
So many good ideas. I'm gonna have to rewatch this later and write them down.
Hibernation hat. So when did you start your art director position?
It was not that long ago, actually, November last year. Before that,
oh, awesome.
Before that I was with NBC News, and before that I was in grad school. So it's still pretty new, but I really like it so far.
And what did you go to grad school for?
Graphic design.
Okay.
Yeah, I was debating if I should go for illustration or graphic design. And the thing is, I did my undergrad in studio art, and but I was already kind of like getting jobs as an illustrator. So I figured graphic design is what I was the worst at. So it could be the place where I could learn the most at.
Completely. And I mean, yeah, I think you already have obviously the design sense and skills. So I think for some people that might not make sense, but you kind of knew what you wanted to kind of like strengthen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's helped a lot, like also making presentations. Like even if I'm sending sketches for illustrations, I try to make the presentations like really well designed. And I think all of that kind of like helps make everything look a bit more professional too.
Well, and I think as your position as an art director as well, it kind of just gives you a little more knowledge of the process, a little more range as far as being able to kind of help or help out with the style of things.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like typography is such a different beast.
Oh yeah.
So it was a learning curve, but I'm grateful I did that. I was in between like doing a painting MFA, an illustration MFA, and a graphic design MFA.
Nick Ringwood is asking, was there a creative brief for this?
Yeah, so I got this was for the Washington Post magazine. It's one of the rejected sketches. They have like a section that's called Art with a Point. And so for that, they actually just give you like a theme and you can do whatever you want. And you also get to write like a little blurb of what you were thinking. And so the theme I think was like change of seasons or like something around that. It was like a couple of years ago. And we were talking about like I have the final one, the one that the art director actually picked on my website, but this is one of the rejected sketches. And I always kind of like it and like the composition and haven't done this before, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be able to revisit work that you wanted to give a little more time, or just kind of have an opportunity to shine. And so it is. I don't know. It's you don't always get to do it, right? Like I mean, there's so many sketches or ideas that just will never happen. So it's always fun to kind of go back and kind of see it come to life.
Yeah, especially like I don't always have time, so I think it's pretty cool. Like doing this allows me to decide kind of like what I wanted to make. So I came in with different sketches, thinking that I was gonna do a different one, but I don't know. I feel like this one spoke to me last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we're making progress. Um,
We're getting there.
it's also nice to, with these streams, for people to see how long things take to make. Because I usually post
Yes.
like my time lapses, and those are like 30 seconds, and I feel like that
Right.
can get like a false sense of reality that this took me like
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds.
Right, right. Or just, yeah, it's a little bit harder for our brains to kind of wrap around like how much actual time this takes. And like you said, that didn't even account for the time to really prep for this, think about it, brainstorm, do some sketches. So,
Yeah.
are there any artists currently or recently that have inspired you recently?
Um, yeah, I love like so I have a minor in art history, so of course like people like Hockney and things like that. But from contemporary artists, I love Shama Golden. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
know her.
I
She
don't.
did a live a while back. She is was an illustrator, I think, but now she's doing more like fine art painting.
Mm-hmm.
Her work is pretty cool. Um, I also have a friend, his name is
Oh, boy.
Sean Dong. He does like 3D illustrations, also
Oh,
editorial
cool.
pieces, but they're like 3D and they're a lot of them are animated and it's very cool. It's very different to what I do, and I feel like I tried doing 3D for a little bit, but it's just like so different, and
Mm-hmm.
his stuff looks really cool. And then I also have the person that I'm gonna do a shout out, right? Like
Oh, yeah,
later.
don't tell us.
Yeah,
Don't tell
yeah, yeah.
us.
I
Yeah,
won't tell you.
yeah.
But yeah, there are so many illustrators that I like and admire.
Yeah, no, I'm checking these out right now. So Shama Golden, very cool. And Shandong, yeah, really fun 3D. 3D really is. It's a whole different beast. Because
Yeah,
I did a lot of sculpture, and I love sculpture. But boy, is it so different on a computer.
I know.
um, it's just it's gotten easier. There's so many new programs coming out that are just so easy to use. And obviously all of the tutorials out there now, it's really accessible with Blender being open sourced and free. I think Nomad Sculpt that's come onto iPad
Oh yeah, I
and then
have that one. That is
yeah, there's
super
just some that it's
crazy.
just really easy to use and just but it's still just sculpting with your hands is like until they somehow replicate that, which I don't know how they would, maybe with haptic feedback gloves and virtual reality or something, but
At that point, you might as well just do it in
it's
person.
just sculpt it. Yeah, what are you doing?
I used to do ceramics too, and I know what you're talking about. Like, it's so fun.
It's incredible. I mean, it's the same feeling I get with painting, where it starts to, I finally feel like I'm creating a life, or this being that like didn't exist. But with sculpting, it's like it's there, right? It's an object in front of you that you're creating. That I think it's obviously that I think the same way probably people feel about working in 3D is just to have that object. It's like, yes, you have like maybe a finished angle or lighting, or um, how to present it, but when you're working on it and we can look at it and you can turn that object around in space, it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah. When I was in school, I did a little bit of Cinema 4D, and that was so hard. But the thing is that
Yeah,
the software is so expensive, so that's why I like Blender, although I haven't tried it much, but because of what you said, that it's kind of like open source and like it's not as capable, but you can
I
learn
mean,
a lot. Yeah.
yeah, it's getting there. It's pretty impressive because people are always improving it, right? And I would say Blender's it's pretty impressive of what it can do nowadays. Because I remember when it first came out, you're right, it was kind of, you were on Maya or 3D Studio Max, or you had Cinema 4D and some of these other ones, and Blender was definitely like the ugly stepchild. But nowadays, I mean, it's unbelievable what people are doing with it. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's free. Like ZBrush and all these other ones are amazing programs, but you got to pay for it, which if you can do it, great, like they're great programs. But if you can't and you want to get into it, Blender's just such a great resource.
Yeah. I tried Cinema 4D on like that student like free, I don't know, semester or something, and that was great. But then
Right.
I ran out.
Right. And it's like, well, sponsor me.
Okay, I think I'm gonna leave the hat like that. I could keep going and going and going, but just gonna move forward.
All right.
Now I'm gonna move on to the other hat, the one below. This one.
Yes. The multiple hats underneath.
Oh, it's this one.
Have you done any type of children's illustration, or is it like any kind of books or anything like that, or been approached?
Uh, haven't. I've done covers, and I recently did
Mm-hmm.
one for Macmillan for a book that's coming up on next year, 2023. I'm not.
Oh,
That's
very
on my
cool.
side. But I haven't done like full on like illustrated books. I was approached once for like a graphic novel, but that didn't work out at the end. I would love to. I feel like when I started out doing illustration, that was kind of like what I thought maybe I would do one day, because that's kind of like what's expected somehow. Like if you're not, since I didn't go to school for illustration, that was kind of like what I was more familiar with, or
Right.
of like, oh, this is what illustrators do. So maybe one day. I mean, I would love to partner with someone that writes it, but if not, then I think I can do with all these ideas that I got here today. Maybe I can do my
Mm-hmm.
own book.
Yeah, I love the idea of publishing, these types of like picture books or illustrated stories, because I feel like there's no, with some things I feel like there's almost like an age range of like when you get to work on things or when people care, or but I feel like when it comes to storybooks, you could do them till the day you die, and you know what I mean, like it's such a slow build, and kind of how you piece them together. And I don't know, there's something really special about children's storybooks. I think of like some of my biggest memories as a child, and it's like there's a lot of them have to do with books, you know, and like when you see those books again when you're older, and kind of the nostalgia and like those images and how they impacted you, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you really get to influence people, like children, people's lives. Have you ever done one?
Um, Gosh, I did one a very long time ago. I was 19, and it was a friend in high school. His mom was writing a book, and she asked if I wanted to do it. And so it was called Jemmy's Big Day, and it was about a little boy. I think it was turning 8, and he had to do, you know, all these assorted chores and had these responsibilities to get a bike for his birthday. So very, very basic, kind of cute, fun. But, you know, I mean, I've learned a lot since then. I think, and it was my first time ever doing anything digitally. And so I made a lot of very interesting digital painting choices. I think it was all in Corel Painter. And I think I did all the outlines with like a pen tool, but like painted the. It's just weird.
Oh wow.
It's
Is it
my
anywhere?
kid. No, I don't think so. I think it was, you know, self-published. I mean, she was a librarian, but I don't know if it ever really got past just kind of local publication. Yeah, my mom found it recently, and my son was like, "Dad, can you sign it?" It's like,
That's really cute.
yeah. Oh yeah, you can see it. They sell it on Amazon.
Oh really? I
Yeah.
want to see it.
Jemmy's Big Day, Jemmies. That's hilarious. I haven't seen that in so long.
I mean, they're still selling it, so it's probably did good. Maybe you influence some lives like that too.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was fun. It was a great experience, and his mom Cora, was a wonderfully nice woman. So easy to work with. Good experience at that young age. I was at community college at the time. I wasn't sure what I was doing, if I was even going to go to art school. So that kind of helped push me in that direction.
Did you do it pro bono, or like did you charge for it, or how was that
No, yeah,
experience?
she paid me. You know, at the time, for my inexperience, pretty well. And you know, there weren't really hard deadlines. I think I just did it over a summer. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not something I would flash around. Like, it's just, you know,
Put it
it's
on
like
your portfolio.
art. Yeah, art that you did 20 years ago, you know, doesn't usually hold up at that age to art that you're doing now. So I wasn't as committed at that age to my craft. Lots of other distractions at 19.
And after that one, did you do another one, or that was the one and only children's book?
That's the only one I've done. It's funny because I've thought about it. I've been approached a few times for different books, but it's never like the people that wanted to do it, like, kind of just didn't have the budget for it, because you know, it's like the quality that they wanted, and you know, the amount of work that goes into those. It's like it's not cheap to make a children's book, you know. So yeah, it was just one of those things where I just had to say no, because I just didn't have, it just wasn't worth the time
Yeah.
put in. But they were great ideas, good people, it just didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I feel like a lot of people also try to sometimes like make children's books, but yeah, doing that many illustrations, it's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah, you want 32 pages of full color illustration. It's like, well, that's going to cost you. Yeah, I mean, working on this comic book, I don't think I really realized, you know, putting together a graphic novel, how expensive that is. You know, because
Yeah.
you're not just paying one artist for each page. You're paying, you know, three different. Sometimes I know with Marvel, know that, you know, you got a penciler, inker, colorist, and a letterer, so you got 4 people per page. We only had 3, but still, it's like, you know, $300+ just for a page, and you're doing over 200 pages. Put that together.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
wow.
cheap. Yeah, we just there's these really fun books that my kids have been reading recently by this artist Mo Willems. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I mean the name sounds familiar, but I cannot place any
He
book.
he either used to be a designer or a puppeteer on Sesame Street, and he's been making kids books. I want to say for over 5 years, maybe 10 years. I don't know, but they're really funny. You know, it's like one of them's like, "Don't let the pigeon drive the bus," and it's like a book that you can say no to, and it's like this pigeon just asking you over and over again if it can drive the bus in all these different ways. And like the kid's response each time is to say no. But so it's always fun. I don't know, there's so many great kids books out there. I feel like I see so many of them because I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I feel like that has to change your perspective. Also, get like inspiration from other sources, like
Oh, and
children's books.
yeah, and it's completely changed my art as well. I mean, I make much more accessible art these days, and stuff that's not as gruesome. Um, because it's, you know, the comic book is can be a little intense, so I can't really show them that, you know. So it's fun to have other work that I can show them.
Do you think you'll do one, like a children's book?
I would love to. I've got a ton of ideas that I've fleshed out here and there, but yeah, it's just a time thing, right? So I think once this comic book gets finished, could possibly start thinking about those a little bit more. All right, so we're doing the rim lighting, correct? A little bit here
Yeah.
and there, just adding some textures, kind of developing this scarf a little more.
Yeah, I think even regardless of what color I use as a base, if it's the blue, the orange, or whatever, I like to keep the rim lights like the same, either blue or
Mm-hmm.
yellow, just to tie it together.
Right, right.
So it feels like the lighting is the same.
Evie has a question. Hey, Katty, how do editors normally choose artists for publications? Do they look for submissions, or do they look for artwork already done and then choose artists to work with?
So for like stories, there's illustrators that can reach out. So like if you know their emails, you can send emails being like, "Hey, I'm an illustrator. This is my work, blah blah blah," and that is a way to find people. I also find a lot of people on Instagram. I follow a lot of illustrators, and so I commission that way as well. Um, Having a strong portfolio, like having art that you've already done, even if it's personal work, that's super helpful just to see what you're getting into, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes having a style is also useful, you know, because if you're commissioning someone, you want to make sure what you're gonna get out of it. If people have different styles, that can work too, but then you gotta specify like when you're hiring out, like, oh, I like this kind of stuff that you're doing, so maybe something like that. But yeah, I would just say like putting your work out there and like don't be afraid of cold emailing our directors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that's, you know, the information's out there. It's not secret. Um, you know, like you can find the people that are behind the scenes that are making these things happen. Um, and it never hurts to reach out.
Yeah, and keep the emails short. And you may email a couple of times and may not hear back. That doesn't mean that they're not looking at your work. It might mean that it's not the right fit at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like try to be conscious of who you're emailing. Like if you love to draw like food illustration, then email like an art director that focuses on that rather than someone that's like more focused on like politics or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big thing I've been learning with the recruiting process, even in animation, is, a lot of the times you're, as a recruiter, you're kind of looking for the art you need, right? Even if you've got all these amazing illustrators, artists, character designers, concept artists, painters, but how much easier is your job when you see the art that already looks like what you want produced? So I think that's a big thing too, is don't be discouraged as well when you're trying to reach out to people or trying to find these jobs, is that a lot of the time it could just be that you're not the right fit. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be the right fit for a project down the line.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many like different styles. Like and I feel like there's enough work for everyone. So just like keep working what you like and it will eventually happen. I just say do personal work. If you haven't gotten commissions yet, but you want to do that, then start making the work that you want to get hired for yourself.
Yeah, and I would say with editorial illustration, if that's what you're interested in, is read some stories and do some illustrations for them. Pretend like you've already been hired for the job, and lay that out the way you would on your website. So that's kind of the thing. It's like if you don't have the professional experience, you kind of have to pretend that you do. You have to create a project for yourself that is going to give you that a similar experience. Give yourself a deadline. Really, think about your work. Go through the process the same. Your sketches, your color comps. Hopefully you have somebody that you can reach out to or kind of bounce ideas off of. That could be an editor or somebody that could help you with just kind of nailing it down. But that's, I think with any of those types of jobs, is you're kind of faking it until you make it, right? And I
For
think
sure.
it really is true for a lot of things. So yeah, it's always good to have a really nice layout with your portfolio, and kind of also, this is something I hear, which I really like the idea of it as well, is make the kind of art that you want to be hired for. Make the stuff that you enjoy, because there's all these other things in it, and you do need to have a range as well. But it'd be pretty wonderful if you're getting hired for the work that you really enjoy making, right? And maybe that is like your strongest work. So definitely have some of that in your portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah, only put stuff that you want to do. In the past
Yeah,
I've
you
put
don't
stuff that I'm
want to
like,
get
oh my
stuck.
God, yeah, get hired doing something that you don't want to do. But if you put it
You're
out
like,
there.
uh-oh.
And I think having like a good design portfolio now, it's easier. So if you have Behance, you can connect all the work that you have there with Adobe Portfolio, and that's where I host my website. So it's kind of like
Okay, you
easy
use that as
to,
well?
yeah, it's very easy
Nice.
to like,
Yeah, so do I.
yeah, I think it's just great that you upload something to Behance and you can import it to your site without having to do a lot of like, I don't know, extra work behind the scenes. Because
Mm-hmm.
updating websites, it's so annoying sometimes. Like it takes time.
It could be really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, before that, I had a custom designed website, and but at a certain point, the guy who helped me developed it wasn't really available to help me change it when, like, this was at the time, was like connected to my Flickr account, and it's like, oh, I can't access it anymore, and it's like, oh, I can't edit my website anymore. Things like that, where it's having something like a Adobe Portfolio, and all these other, I mean, Squarespace and Wix, and there's so many template-based websites now that you can
Yeah.
customize your websites. It is a much easier way to go.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for someone to just fix it for you.
Yeah, and for the most part, you're probably going to find something that's going to work with your artwork. All right. Well, it is 10:30. We are an hour in. Cannot believe it. And in 30 minutes, we are going to be doing the artist spotlight. So if you see in the top right of the chat, there's a tab that says artist spotlight. Go ahead and fill out the form, nominate yourself or somebody else that will highlight on the artist spotlight. It's a very cool thing. We like to hype the artists, check out their artwork, connect people to new artists that they haven't seen. It's very awesome. And this is day 2 with Katty Huertas, who is with us, an editorial illustrator, very talented, doing a rejected editorial illustration that we're making. But that doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it wasn't chosen for the article. So, and maybe at some point we'll see the one that was accepted.
Yeah.
But yes, very awesome. So that'll be in a half hour. We'll be doing the artist spotlight. So Katty, you've got about a half hour before we got to take a pause and take about 5 to 10 minutes to do that. And then after that, we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes to kind of wrap things up.
Perfect. All right. Moving quickly now.
And of course, if you missed day 1, if you are just joining the stream now, the great thing about all this is it gets archived. You can just go on Behance, search for the video, you can find it. Find day 1, you can rewatch it, rewind it, rewatch it, rewind it, whatever you want to do. There's lots of great tips for kids' books in here.
Lots of ideas.
Lots of ideas. But yeah, that is the great thing is even when this live stream ends, there's plenty of content to search and find. And the great thing too is if you have a Behance profile, you can also live stream now through your profile, which is really cool. I think it's not really, really new, but it's pretty new. I think it's in the last 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. They've been doing that. So, and as you were saying earlier, you can connect the Behance profile to a website, to Adobe Portfolio.
Yeah, literally the easiest way to have like a nice website because they have good templates already and they're pretty customizable. Like I've been able to switch things around so it doesn't look like a template as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously you have access to that if you have access to the Creative Cloud.
Okay, just the boots. I'm gonna
All right.
try
Are
to
these
find.
galoshes? Are these shiny? What are these boots going to look like?
I'm gonna look for reference really quick.
There we go.
Dr. Mark.
Look at this. This is good.
I think this might do. I do have a pair and they're really cool, so.
Oh yeah. Gosh, they take a very long time to break it.
It is horrible. I had them for so long and I wore them once and then I'm like, I'm never gonna wear this again. I don't understand how people do it. It's painful, but but yeah, at the end they will soften up and
Yeah. I think the best pair I ever had was my brother's old pair. Because they were so beat up and used by the time I got them. I was like, oh, these are really nice. This leather is just so soft. And then I bought a new pair a couple of years later and was it's like, this is going to have blisters for a while, I guess. Just going to have to wear real thick socks to avoid that.
it's a commitment. Maybe if
Yes.
there's someone from there is listening, they could like sell a different product that is like pre-worn, not pre-worn, but like something so they are a little bit softer.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, you could just go buy them used, right? Go
Yeah.
get vintage. This is a good example of getting quick reference off the internet. It's so helpful. Because as much as we want our brains to retain all of these images and remember how to render all of these things, it doesn't always happen. It's always nice to get a quick photo reference.
Yeah, and as long as you're not copying it exactly, like I'm just trying to see how the light reflects on them, but not so much like everything. So you should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, working on substance, and surfaces and texture, and there's a lot of little nuances that make that texture feel the way it feels or look the way it looks. So it is good to have reference for things like that.
It's funny how they fall almost like clothes, like they're so kind of like bended.
Because it's just this like leather material, and there's so much of it, and it doesn't have the same structure that the part that's on your foot has, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to mimic that a little bit better. Oh.
It's nice having those little highlights to kind of show the little change of plane there.
Yeah, and I think they have like little stitches here.
Yep. It's kind of their little signature.
I'm trying to move fast so we can move on to Photoshop.
No, yeah, you're crushing it. You're doing well.
The good thing with Fresco is that it's already kind of like connected with Photoshop. And so once I open it in my laptop, it's gonna be there magically.
Yeah, are you saving this all with the cloud?
Yeah, so it should be there.
You should be instant access.
Yeah. I feel like this file might be a little big, so if it's not there, it might take a couple of minutes, but if not, it should be already. Okay, I'm not gonna spend that much on the boot because it's kind of like small anyway. Like you cannot see it that much. Maybe add some little.
The holes. Yeah, it is nice using the cloud because plenty of terrible things can happen, and nobody wants to lose all of their progress on a piece of work.
Yeah.
That nice auto save feature.
I think although autosave in Photoshop works only if you saved it before, right? Because I think once I didn't save it, like I never saved it. I worked on it and then I was like, I need to recover it. And because I never saved it, it wasn't there. So this is a reminder to everyone to save. Like here in Fresco, you don't have to save, but like on Photoshop, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not connected to the cloud and if it's not on autosave, please make sure you're saving often. Do you ever find any difference with working on your iPad to... You said you have a Wacom tablet as well?
Yeah, but I barely use it now. I used to use it a lot to draw, and it was very different. It was cool because you get to do it in Photoshop, which has like so many like cool brushes and things. but it's kind of like always weird. You get used to draw with like looking at the screen, but drawing on like something that doesn't have a screen because I had the one that didn't have.
Right, the Intuos, where you
Yeah.
kind of be looking at the computer screen while you're drawing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very weird. It takes some adjustment, but it's funny how brains can get used to many things.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some amazing concept artists and illustrators that swear by the Intuos. Like they refuse to get a tablet. And it's just like, really? But it's kind of, that's how you did it back that, before any of that happened. That's, if you'd been doing it that way for a long time, it's the cool thing is your hand never gets in the way, and you can always see your cursor and stuff. But it is strange because that's how I used to draw for a long time as well before I got the Cintiq.
Yeah, I remember I always wanted a Cintiq. When the
Mm-hmm.
iPad came along, I mean, I'm using this now and I got used to it, but a Cintiq was always the goal. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the pressure sensitivity is so good.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know a lot of people use iPads, but if anybody out there uses a Surface, I am curious because I've recently heard of some artists really liking it, and I just haven't heard much about it as far as being used as like a drawing tablet.
Yeah, I've never used it.
Yeah, I mean, the iPad just seems like the de facto kind of, this is what you use. I mean, it's obviously it's a great tool. I don't think I've really had too many problems with it.
I think the good thing about the Surface is that that one can run like full Photoshop, right?
Yeah, it's basically, as far as I know, I think they have different versions of it, but there is one that's just, it's a computer. It's just, like same as like a desktop kind of thing.
How are we on time for the artist shout out? I'm thinking I might leave this. It's
We've
pretty
got about
much done.
18 minutes before we switch over to the artist spotlight.
And then after that, we have a little bit of time still, right?
Yeah, so we usually do the spotlight for about anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending, and then so then it'd be 11:10, and then we usually try to start wrapping up the show around 11:20. So so you'd have about anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes after we get off the artist spotlight.
Okay. Good to know. I'm just trying to finish.
I love these little shoes.
Oh, I think I
I
can
kind of
close
love how
this.
they have all this detail too.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one looks better than the other one, so I'm gonna have to add stitching to this one too.
Mm-hmm.
That happens with hands all the time. Like I feel like one of my hands always looks better than the other hand.
Yeah, that's funny because sometimes it'll happen with faces. Like I always feel like one of my eyes I did better than the other. I'm like, gosh, that one eye just isn't looking as sweet as that other one. See, Becca Smith says, I don't know if it's any better nowadays, but I bought a Surface to draw with in 2019 and did not like it. It had a weird jitter when drawing diagonal lines. My iPad is much better for drawing.
That's good to know. I remember seeing the ads and that they were very much targeting it to like creatives. But yeah, I wonder if it really took off or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a steep hill to climb. Just between Wacom and Apple, I feel like they've got the monopoly on those. And I know there's the Huon tablet.
I don't know those. Is it like a Cintiq or?
It's like a Cintiq, yeah. I think it's just a cheaper version. I don't know if it's Chinese made or I'm not sure. I've never used it, but I know that is it's kind of a cheaper option for people, and I know it's pretty decent.
Well, this feels pretty much like an editorial deadline. Sometimes when I'm working and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I wish I had more time to actually like draw like the thread on every little thing, but
Mm-hmm.
you just have to turn things in. So
Well, it's the foundation works there, the colors are there, and you're right. It's like sometimes the viewer has no idea that you missed those details, that you wanted to
yeah.
put in.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like you can be like more critical. People tend to be more critical about their own work than anyone else, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's my wife's always telling me that. She's like, "You need to get out of your own way," and I was like, "I know. I'm sorry."
Okay, I think this is done here in Fresco.
All right.
Gonna look at it from different ways just to make sure.
It's kind of
And
cool
then
upside down too.
I mean yeah, I guess because she's working against all the
That's cool. Yeah.
all the other things. So I'm gonna move on to my laptop now. I lost a highlight on the gloves and I think I know what happened. You see, I drew on the same layer that I
Yep.
have my color palette.
Yep.
I'm not gonna need that anymore. So I'm just gonna get rid of it. And if I need to use it again, I can pick from the same thing.
Right.
So I'm gonna move on to my desktop now.
Okay, so we're gonna move this into Photoshop.
Oh, and here you see, like, here's my
Yep.
Photoshop and it's right there. Hopefully it's
Perfect.
updated. Let's see. I didn't have to do anything. It's downloading. There you go. Yeah.
All right.
That's very cool. Like I didn't have to do anything and it was already there.
No, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think the only thing that it didn't take was the last that I deleted this, but this is an easy one. I can just do now.
Annika's wondering, do you add backgrounds to your illustrations?
For the most part, I do, but in this case, I think I like it like this. Because I feel like it's already so full. There's not a lot of like space.
Would have almost been too busy.
Yeah. But a lot of them do have backgrounds. So I'm just gonna call this figure. This is as much as I will name my layers.
Right.
Oh, this is part of the figure too. I guess was kind of like a weird setup, but here in Photoshop, what I like to do is kind of like start playing with the colors and figuring out how it looks on this screen because it does look a little bit different. It looks a bit darker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna start playing with adjustment layers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think where I'm seeing it on Adobe Live, it's matching our preview screen but the one in between us, it's got a little bit more red to it. So
yeah.
I am curious how exactly it's coming out.
Oh, there's one thing that I always do. So a lot of my shadows are blue. And then when I go into Photoshop, I just like to bump the saturation of the blue. This might be a lot, but I think it helps it be a little bit more punchier. But yeah, I see what you're saying because it does look a bit more like red on the screen. So if you want to see how I look at it from my screen, you're probably gonna have to see it on my Instagram once I post it.
Yep, you gotta go there. I'm assuming it'd be posted within the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. It's true. Annika's saying the colors can look so different on different monitors. Yes, it is. It's a bit of a pain.
Yeah. Even on different phones. Like I remember
Oh yeah.
I have an iPhone and so I always look at stuff from there. But I remember I was looking at my Instagram from like an Android and I was like, whoa, this is so saturated. Feel like the
Right.
color balance is different.
Yeah, even settings that you just have on your phone from like nighttime settings or like warmth or cool, it's like there's all these little things that can be just totally tweak the way the artwork looks.
Yeah. So I like how this looks very saturated in some areas, but I don't like how the pink hat looks. So the good thing about having it here with this layers and masks is that I can just erase it where I don't like it. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
painting black here on this mask, so it doesn't affect that part of the illustration. It's doing, it's adjusting the saturation of all the magentas everywhere except there.
Gotcha.
And the other thing that I like to do is I have textures, and I always add those, even if it's just a little bit. I downloaded this from Adobe Stock, but you can
Okay.
get textures or you can scan them yourself. Like if you have paper that you like or something, and just import them
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
I
it's
don't like.
always fun.
Yeah,
Just kind of adds another layer that kind of, again, it gives it that traditional feel, right?
yeah, I don't like when things look super flat, like super digital. I mean, I like it when other artists do it, but I don't like it for my work. Um,
Yeah, it can work. You can lean into the digital look.
yeah. So I'm just gonna play with blending modes. I tend to go with multiply. So if I zoom in, there's a lot of texture now, but it's just maybe too dark. So I'm just gonna bring it down a little bit. Um, so it's there. It's not like a huge difference. I don't know if you can see it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one is the opposite. So I'm gonna maybe try like overlay and make it super. I don't know if anyone else notices the difference, but I do. So if you zoom in very closely, there's more texture.
Yeah, it's almost like a grit, you know,
Yeah.
a tooth.
And because I did that, I'm just gonna brighten it up a little bit more. So let's see. Oh, and these are how the clipping masks look on Photoshop, which is still like super great, similar to how they work in Fresco.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you ever have to change any of the color formats when you're delivering work? I mean, I know nowadays it seems like everything's RGB, but do you ever have to move into a CMYK format?
Uh, Sometimes people will ask for that and I can do it, but I do like RGB way better. And what you were saying, like now more printers are capable of handling that as well. Um,
Yeah, it seems like something that I used to have to do early
yeah,
on, like, but now I don't feel like I've ran into that for a while.
I think CMYK really like sometimes just kills the colors. Like it makes it look some.
Right.
I mean,
It's
unless
just
you
not going to be
calibrate it.
as,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just not going to be as vibrant usually.
I'm gonna play with the color balance a little bit.
And when you do deliverables for like a freelance job, do you ever packet it in anything? Do you ever do any type of compression? Do you do it just through email? Do you have a transfer program you use? How do you do that?
Um, so I put everything in a folder. I don't compress it, but I use WeTransfer
Okay.
because I mean you can use anything like Google Drive or Dropbox. Or what I like about WeTransfer is that you can first like just send the link independently, so you're not storing it on your email, which is what happens a lot with like
Right.
Gmail. Like I Google Drive, it can get super heavy. If you
Hmm.
have big files, I would definitely recommend not attaching them because you're not sure if the email went through. Like sometimes emails
Right.
block that, and if it's a company, like if you're working with someone from a company, the company may have like settings like, oh, do not allow emails that are greater than this. So if you want to make sure your stuff gets delivered, don't I wouldn't attach it unless it's like a sometimes I attach like a low res preview, like a screenshot or something tiny for them to see it, but then I'm like download the bigger version here.
Right. Right. And I think with WeTransfer, it's free up to 2 GB, correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. And I used to have the paid version, and with that one, you can actually customize the background. So when you send the
Oh,
link,
that's cool.
people have your background, like something you made in the background.
Right. Right. So yeah, WeTransfer, Dropbox, Google Drive, and try not to connect it to your email just because it makes it a little more complicated. And it's nicer to have an external link.
Yeah. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, I used WeTransfer a lot. I haven't done it as much lately. But I also have Dropbox. I have Google Drive. I feel like I've got several different things that I use. But yeah, I really do like WeTransfer a lot as well. That's how when I was working in the music industry, almost everything I sent was through WeTransfer.
Yeah. And the design, like the interface is really nice. So it's like a nice
Yeah,
experience to use it.
I feel like I will use Dropbox or Google Drive more when I'm collaborating as well, or if they need files to send to me. So I'll kind of create a folder for the project and then put everything in that folder and then give access to the client.
Yeah. The other thing is like if you use Google Drive for some reason, just make sure the permissions are set correctly because more times than not,
Yes.
it's like you need to request
Yes.
access on top of it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too those that access will eventually you need to like request it again, or sometimes it
Yeah.
gets that is yeah. I use Google Drive the most for my comic because that's what I use with my writer. But I almost use it personally more than I would with a client. I usually use Dropbox or WeTransfer.
Trying to think. Sometimes if I'm not sure that, oh my God, this looks horrible. Um,
Take away the hair, no hair.
okay, saving as a new cloud document. Okay, yeah. So for example, I was before when we were talking, I was like not sure if the if this was enough, which is what I exported it as. So I just duplicate my shading, and I think that
Right.
gives it like more, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like a bit more contrast. And like again, because I didn't want it to be everywhere, I just like masked it and with a
Mm-hmm.
soft brush hit it in some parts so it's not like super dark everywhere.
Yeah, I no, it's a great technique, is especially with shadows. I do the same as well because I use multiply layer for that, and I'll usually duplicate it again if I have some transparency on the layer and I want it to be a little bit darker in some areas. I'll duplicate it and then go back and kind of adjust where I want those to be lighter and darker.
I'm trying to make the boots stand out a little bit more. So,
Wonder if you put a little bit of like spectral highlights or just little
like with the curves or
you know, like how it has like it's kind of right along the boot. There's a little bit of like a line of light.
oh yeah.
Evie says, just love how it looks very huggable.
That's nice. Yeah, it does look comfy. Trying to find the scarf to duplicate. Oh, it's here to see how it looks with this.
Well, if you labeled it, you'd be able to find those.
Okay, this is hair. I think the scarf is in the hair section for some reason. Scarf.
Oh, cool.
It's just making some of the brush strokes more visible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really like that, especially on the scarf that you
Yeah,
just did.
it goes like way more pink. I think I'm gonna tone it down a little bit in some areas, but
All right, well, and then you'll do that, and then we're gonna switch over to the artist spotlight. It's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and again, if you haven't, and there's in the top right corner of the chat, there's a tab, Artist Spotlight. You can fill out the form to nominate yourself or another artist you know, or maybe don't know, and you just really like their stuff, and we spotlight them on the stream. So, Katty, when you're ready, just let us know.
okay. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna leave it like
Okay.
that. And then let me find. So the person I'm highlighting, her name is Angeline Nair,
All
and
right.
we're talking about editorial illustration and everything is drawn, but another way, a great way to do editorial illustration is like collages as well, like photo illustration, which I think
Mm-hmm.
those look very cool as well. So for example, this is some of the ones
Yes.
that she's done. I think all of this for MSNBC, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool because sometimes using stock imagery, like if you don't know how to draw, some people don't know how to draw, they can just like go find stock and then like manipulate it enough with Photoshop and like cut it out and like make it their own, basically like create something new from scratch.
Oh yeah,
So
I mean collage work is awesome, especially if you have the design sense, composition, color. Like you said, maybe you don't have the draftsmanship or whatever, but it gives you that ability to kind of get these messages still across.
yeah, so I think
These are
it's a
so
really
cool.
cool way to just make something new out of, like stock imagery. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's editorial illustration, which is the cool thing about editorial illustration is that it's not constrained to a medium. Like you can do anything as long as you're
Right.
getting the message across, which I think is very nice. Like I think these are more editorial illustrations.
These are
Um,
so cool.
oh wait, I think kick me out. Yeah, here's more. And you can also develop a style with collage, which I think is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a different way to illustrate. And so I just wanted to show that and give her a shout out.
Yeah, let's look. You want to take a look at some of these?
Yeah, that's this one. This link is not working, but I know these are super beautiful.
Darn it.
So yeah, let's look at this then. Oh wow, is this the only? Yeah, I think. Yeah, okay. She's also a great graphic designer. So with like a great sense of humor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like this was, for example, for an imaginary art school. So I went to grad school with her, and this was one
Oh,
of
okay.
the assignments. It was like School of the Art of Denial, and so creating like branding and typography with creating like a visual identity with different, I don't know, like ideas. Like the bubble here is kind of like um the big part of it that creates the typography, the logo, even like posters and things like that.
Yeah,
So
it's beautiful.
yeah, and all of this translates really well to illustration as well.
Yeah, this is really great, and all those little soft textures. That's not easy.
Yeah.
She makes it look easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, definitely not. I feel like also doing something like pared down is very complicated. Like sometimes you want to put more and more, and I think this
Yes.
show like great exercise in like restraint.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and there's
Oh,
like
wow.
book covers. So this really shows how you can just like take a concept and like run with it. These are very cool. Let me see if I can find
Yeah, this is
another.
cool how she's kind of created a whole like branding identity.
Oh, this one worked. This one is really fun. It was a lot like a also, yeah, like a branding identity, also like fictional, but it's called
Mm-hmm.
Fresh and Fertile, and she was commenting on like the pressure of like women specifically. Like, I mean, she's from India, and I think it was more like about that pressure to get married by a certain age, and so like
Mm-hmm.
using that sense of humor here to shine light on like that issue of like as if, yeah, it's kind of like satirical, but I think it's really cool and a fun way to get the message across.
Right. Talking. It's like being able to approach a subject or talk about something that is not easy to talk about, but do it in a fun way or a little bit of humor, I think it makes it a little more approachable.
Yeah, all these descriptions are really funny.
I can see.
Like,
I'm like, slow it down. I want to read them.
let me see if there's still. Oh yeah, and she has
Oh
all the
my
background
gosh.
or like inspiration. Yeah, they're here. So for example, simple down to earth culture, responsible values, or like professional student with a higher degree. Like, I think it's just a funny approach of
Mm-hmm.
um, these topics that are sometimes hard to talk about, and it's just like a new way of seeing them.
Oh yeah. Evie's laughing because it says best before 25 years.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like Easter eggs in all of these. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, these are really clever.
yeah, and hails from a premium quality family.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much talking about her culture, but I think it still like translates and people can relate from anywhere. And the design is also like really beautiful too.
Yeah, and I mean, even though obviously in America and other places there's not necessarily arranged marriages or anything like that, but I think we all do have our own biases and preconceptions of who we think our children are going to be or marry or what their life is going to be, whether we want to put that on them or not, and especially women. I think it's a lot more pressure with that in life.
Yeah, and a lot of her work has that kind of like comical undertone, which is very funny. I mean, this one is also an exercise in branding, like imaginary branding for like a department, like a governmental department of like digital remains. Basically, what happens with all your social media and like your social karma, like how you behaved online once you die, basically your
Right.
Facebook accounts and all that stuff. So it's again kind of dark but kind of funny at the same time. It's just like a mix of that.
Well, and this is a great example too of kind of creating your own project, right? It's like you probably not gonna find this project out there, right? And so you
Yeah.
got to make it yourself, but it's still being treated like a full professional project. I mean, if you didn't know that, or if maybe you didn't pick up on the humor, you would have zero idea that this wasn't done, for a major corporation or company or a big time art project.
Exactly. And like this, yeah, it's not a real company, but employers or companies might see this and be like, oh, she definitely has the skills, so
Yeah.
we're gonna hire her.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah, and when you're passionate about making something, I think that shows. Like when you're really into like a
Mm-hmm.
topic, you can make really cool stuff. Um,
Well, and these are really interesting topics that are actually, very relevant.
yeah, yeah, she's very smart, and also I think it's really funny because she for these posters like assigned them like a karma score, like a digital
Mm-hmm.
life karma score. And so if
Right.
you were like me, and like if you were kind of like an internet troll, like your karma score is like lower than if you were like, yeah, that kind of stuff. It's a really interesting project.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I mean, that's pretty awesome artist spotlight. So is it Anjali? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Angeli. Yeah.
Anjali? Okay. Anjali Nair. Incredible work. Thank you so much for putting her in the spotlight because it's awesome. I'm sure people are going to love this. All right. Well, great. And it's just her name for her website as well, right? Is
Yeah.
there a dash in there?
There's a dash in between.
Okay. Well, please go check out her work. Very glad to see her work. It's awesome. And yeah, let's get back to finishing up what we can here on day
Yay.
2.
Okay. So I think the illustration is pretty much done. I'm just gonna
Okay.
put it all in a folder, and then hopefully I'm gonna try to make it blink really fast. We'll see if we can make it. So in Photoshop, you can animate pretty much anything. That's why I love about Photoshop. You can do like text, animation, everything basically. So I'm just gonna create a timeline, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna do a frame animation. You can also do like a video animation. So now I need to make the blinking, like my blinking layer. So I might just try to fake it here. I could do it on the iPad, but I'm just gonna try to fake it here and see if it works. I love making my stuff blink. Like if you see my work, like my website,
Yeah.
the main image is blinking. It's just like a very easy animation tool, but it helps like bringing things to life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna grab this lasso tool.
Yeah, it's
And I'm
amazing how something so simple really changes how you view that piece.
yeah, and this is gonna look kind of weird and for a little bit, but I'm actually gonna move these up because I want these textures to also be on top of the new frame
Okay.
to tie it up a little bit. Because I wasn't sure that we were gonna have time to do the animation. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
it here, but otherwise I would draw all of these in the iPad and then like bring the layers and put them together here. And
Gotcha.
Fresco also has like some animation capabilities that it can show you like the frame before and the frame afterwards.
Right. Which is, they like to call that the onion skin.
Yeah. And it's cool that all of these like terms from traditional animation have like moved and are now part of like digital animation as well, like in betweening and that kind of stuff.
Right, right, right.
So I'm just going back to this. This is blinking on one eye now.
Ooh, maybe it's just a wink. Maybe it's just a wink.
Like a very wonky wink. No, I'm gonna try to make it happen. But if not, like you get the idea.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm
Now it
impressed that
looks
you're doing this. So let's, yeah,
on
whatever
the
you can do.
5 last minutes.
One,
Let's
just one
see.
black eye. Somebody did not like her outfit. It's...
I'm just gonna maybe cheat a little and then just duplicate it. Which is not cheating. I just say that, but that's totally valid. Like
No, yeah. Whatever you can do to speed up the process and not take away from the quality of the work. No, copy paste is, use it all the time.
and this will probably need a bit more texture so it looks like more natural. So if we run out of time, I probably can do that on my own time, but
Right.
I think animation really helps. Oh, and I can show you actually the one that it's like what the art director picked for this one. How much time do we have left?
We've got about 7-8 minutes.
Yeah, this is looking very wonky. Let's see. Okay, it's blinking.
Yeah, we got a blink.
Could be smoother, but again, the face is very tiny. So we got a blink.
It works.
I can add more textures, but I'm gonna pull up my site just to show you the one that they actually picked. And then for example here, that blink this is a traditional painting, but the blinks are made on the iPad. And so I just superimposed it and that's how it's blinking. And I'm trying to find the one that they actually went with. It's this. Oh, this is one that has a ton of blinks. And it's basically
cool.
the same effect, but I'm gonna try to do this as well. Like even adding like a different frame for the shine, like the little glare, the reflection on the eyes, help it look more natural. Because if you look at an eye in real life, it's kind of like always moving a little bit, just the shininess in it. So this is like, yeah, multiple blinks. Trying to go down to the one that was the actual selected one. And my side is taking a little bit. Okay, this is the one. basically the same concept of like not wanting winter to come. It's just like a very different sketch idea. So I wonder what people in the chat think. If like this reads better than the other one, or I mean, I think this gets the point clearer, like across, but I like the composition of the other one, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that they chose makes the most sense. Just for like a quick read, like yeah, just a little more visual impact. And I love the color choices too.
Yeah, I think color was a big part of this one, just because going
Mm-hmm.
from like fall to winter. So, and the clothing makes sense. So I think mine, because this was done so long ago, let me see, what year was this? This was 2 years ago, in November from 2020. So, in those 2 years, I kind of like forgot it was about fall. So I was thinking this was from summer to fall, which is like basically I'm still gonna be wearing this in fall.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say it's probably gonna get cold. How long is the winter in DC?
I mean, technically it's like 3 months, but it feels like more because
Right.
it starts
Yeah,
getting
I mean,
cold.
like,
Yeah, it starts getting cold. Like November is very cold, December is freezing, and then like up until like April still pretty cold. So it's like a good
mm-hmm.
November, December, January, like 6 months basically of
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Annika was wondering if you've animated in Fresco. I know you know of the capabilities, but have you done any final animations in that, or does it always kind of end up in Photoshop for that part?
Yeah, I've done like the frames in Fresco, like the layers that I need, but I always end up in Photoshop. I guess
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I have more control, especially right now I'm doing the frame by frame, which is I could do in Fresco as well. But
Right.
if you're doing like the video timeline where you can like animate different things at different times, I think I'm not sure if Fresco can do that or not, but I am just comfortable with Photoshop doing that. And because sometimes I like to go back and forth from Photoshop to After Effects, then I guess working on my laptop feels
Mm-hmm.
easier.
Evie says that the curtain idea is great, so I agree. I like that idea.
Oh, thank you. So I'm doing a little bit of shadowing and highlights here, so it looks more integrated and it's not just like a little like the flat eyelid and everything else is like rendered.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's all you need, right? That's enough.
Then I have to adjust timing, but just a tiny, tiny bit of animation, I think, makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and another thing I want to do is crop it just a tiny bit more so it has less space around. May have to work on the scarf a little so it's not out of frame.
Nice.
Oh, and I always like to see it in white and in black.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure it does look different. Like colors tend to look either more vibrant or things look washed out depending on what background you're using.
Right.
So I think I'm good with this. I'm gonna export it as a GIF.
Okay.
Okay, it's not too big, so it should be fine. So I'm saving for web, making sure it's in GIF, and let's see. I'm gonna save it on the desktop. And there it is.
That's awesome.
We made it. I was running a little bit in there. Yeah.
We did it. We did it. Well, you did it. I just watched, but
No, we all did it.
well, that's
um,
perfect timing. I mean, so I guess at this point it's 11:20 and we're wrapping up. Could you just kind of give us a quick summary of what we did these past 2 days?
sure. So, uh, this was an editorial illustration, so it was based on an article or a brief that it was given to me by an art director. Since I didn't have a brief specifically for this, I brought some sketches that were rejected from previous illustrations, and we picked one, and I started working on it. And in Fresco, I started kind of like making a color palette that would guide the whole illustration, and started like blocking up shapes with the inking brush. So just like flat colors everywhere, to make sure it looks good, like colors are working together, and also like kind of like a base for the whole illustration.
Mm-hmm.
And that took a little bit. And once that was done, I started with the more painterly brushes, like the canvas brush and like the acrylic one, started painting on top of it, and like adding shadows and highlights, and pulling also from the background all over it. So even if the background is blue or pink or orange, adding a little bit of that color from the background kind of like ties it all together, making it look like it's part of the same environment.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, that's definitely the part that takes the longest, just shading every little detail. And once that was done, we moved on to Photoshop, added textures, made it a little bit more vibrant, and added a last minute blink using the timeline.
Yep, that was perfect. I can't believe we actually got that in. I wasn't sure. Even got the highlights on the eyelids. So, well, awesome. This is the end of our day 2 with editorial illustrator Katty Huertas, coming to us from Washington D.C. What an awesome illustration you were able to complete. We even got some animation at the end. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you to the chat for being here. You guys are awesome. And we have a little bit of time left today, I guess, so we can talk a little bit more. If you guys have any questions for Katty, please ask now. And if there's anything else that you'd like to tell us about, any upcoming projects or anything for you that we could look for?
For me, I have some projects. Some of them I cannot talk about, but if you follow me,
Totally.
you'll see them. I try to post everything,
Mm-hmm.
so everything should be on my Instagram. So follow me if you want to see that. Also, if you want to see how this actually looks like without that color correction, like, because I feel like it looks a bit redder still, but this is pretty much like orange. Um, so yeah. But yeah, ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer everything.
Everybody's saying thank you. It was obviously a wonderful stream. And look, you showed us your skills at hitting those deadlines.
With 8
Oh
minutes
yeah,
to spare.
yeah. Annika's saying any last minute tips for new illustrators.
Um, I think just create personal work for sure. Like whatever you want to do. If you want to do children's book, then start illustrating for that. Or if you want to do editorial, grab stories from the internet and illustrate them and put everything on your portfolio. I think sometimes people wait for their work to be perfect to put themselves out there, but I think just put yourself out there. You don't know who's gonna see it. Like my first commission came from Flickr too. I was putting everything and someone saw it. I didn't even know that you could reach to our director. So that's another thing. Depending on the industry that you want to work in, like reach out to people and show your work, send emails. And people before used to send postcards. I feel like that's less common now, especially because so many people
Yeah,
are working from home. You don't have their like home addresses. So, but I think
right.
email is great.
Yeah, it used to be that you could print out your portfolio and bring it in and show somebody, and you can't really do a lot of that stuff anymore. So I guess we do have a few minutes just left here. How did you first get discovered, or what was kind of the catalyst for that?
So my background is in studio art. So I started learning how to paint and do ceramics and I was given one of those Wacom, like the little ones that don't have a screen or anything, the very cheap ones. And I started painting with that on like the software that it came with, that it was like okay. I mean, I think it was called Rate or something. And then I
Hmm.
started putting everything on Tumblr. I was on Tumblr and Flickr. I was putting all my illustrations, and I think like I'm aging myself here, but yeah, those were
No,
the
you're fine.
platforms. And then I don't know how still to this day, like an art director for Lenny Letters saw it and commissioned me for 5 illustrations, and that's kind of like what made me realize that it could be like a career, because again, I was doing studio art, so my classmates were not illustrators, it was more fine art. So I thought it was great. They were, of course, they were gonna pay me, and that was my first in like experience doing that. And because that
Hmm.
was like a somewhat known newsletter, from that came other clients. So I think sometimes you just need like that first little opportunity, and then like things will come out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for getting this finished on time. It was an awesome 2 day stream. And again, this is going to be archived. You guys can go check it out if you missed today or yesterday. Thank you, Katty Huertas. It was great having you. It was lovely talking with you.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much for talking to me while I was drawing. It made time go way faster, for sure.
Definitely. And tune in to our new creative bootcamp with Nick Longo for Packaging Design Bootcamp. Following the bootcamp, join the second day of developing a travel mobile app with Taria Tolbert at noon Pacific. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody that's joining us on YouTube. It was wonderful having everybody today. And thank you, Katty. And we'll see you next time. Stay tuned.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.